Hello, hello. Welcome to the podcast, guys. I'm Ryan, the pessimist.
I'm Carlos, the optimist.
And this is Optimist versus Pessimist, OVP. And you know what? I never say what the podcast is about. Maybe I should. We talk about video games, movies, and other nerdy topics. And today we're talking about... Actually, we're taking a lot of trivia today.
Ooh.
Just because I thought we should, refresh ourselves with our favorite things.
We want to test our fandoms? Is that what we're doing?
I kind of want to. Yeah, I want to see if I'm an actual fan of the things.
See, because if we get them wrong, we're not real fans.
No, if we get them wrong, we're not allowed to watch those things ever again. So, you better not mess up, man. But before we get into that, we are also going to be talking about video games as well, I think, after the trivia. But we do have some news of the week, which I think is that's our segment, or your segment, I should say.
Yes.
What is it? Hit me up with it. What's news?
Before we get into it, also, we'd like to say our producer will be joining us. Eva will be joining us for this conversation about Batman. So just if you hear other takes, we're very excited about it. So the news of the week is that we got a first look at the Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves Batman, the Batman. We got our first look at the costume mainly.
Okay, so are you saying both these guys are going to be playing Batman and they're going to be interchanging? Is it like Batman Brothers?
Pattinson is the actor,
Reeves
is the director.
Oh, okay. And Matt Reeves is the one that directed the Planet of the Apes?
Mm-hmm.
The two Planet of the Apes movies?
The two of them.
Not the two good ones, yeah.
Oh, wow. Shade.
Always shade. So, yeah, we got our first look. I thought we'd get more in the teaser, but it was just him standing in a red-black background. Meh. On a teaser, I guess.
It's an alright tease. I like the red. I think we saw enough. I don't think it's that unclear. Maybe if you can turn up the brightness a little bit on your phone if you're watching it or something. But
okay, yeah. So, in terms of design, I don't like the collar on the back. I really don't.
Why is that?
Because I don't like modern interpretations of Batman's costume. I like it more simplistic. I know that it makes sense.
Right.
But if you look at the Batman animated series... It's just so simplistic. You look at even the Arkham games, like at least the first Arkham game. It's very simplistic. He has simple. It's not overly mechanical, and I feel like I said when I was watching it, he had shoulder hinges, like you have with knights. Mm-hmm. I'm I feel like it's always in trying to make it modern, it just doesn't fit as well. It doesn't look as nice because they go for the mechanical kind of sense. You know what I mean?
I can definitely see where you're coming from, and one of the hardest things is that I think Iron Man really bleeds into it where people now in the modern era give Batman usually a mechanized suit or at least if it's armor, it's really really thick, really military heavy style kind of armor. But if we look back at the animated series, for example, that that clothy kind of feel. The brighter colors.
I much prefer that. Even the Batman 1989 movie, I prefer that kind of costume. So I don't like that.
But that costume was so horrible for the actor wearing it.
Well,
anytime that it was rubberized, they couldn't move their necks. When we moved to the what's his name? The guy who yells on sets.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, when we moved to his... Sorry, it was the worst way to describe
Worst way to describe it.
I knew exactly.
The Academy Award nominee, yes.
Everybody knew.
But when we looked at his batsuit, it was designed to be mobile. And when they went through the description of why it was done the way it was, it made a lot of sense. Okay. But also the actor didn't have to suffer under all this rubber.
Okay, he's getting paid to suffer, so I don't really care as much, unfortunately.
So you don't feel bad when, for example, actors complain about I had to be in the makeup chair for 12
you're getting paid millions of dollars.
Right.
I'll sit 6 hours if you're gonna put me in makeup for millions of dollars, 100%. I can understand.
But that's not just their feeling about it. That can be really destructive to their bodies.
It can be, but I don't see turning your whole body being that much of a disruption other than Christian Bale having to gain weight and lose weight. Can't say that is dangerous, but in terms of
he didn't actually have to do that.
Yeah, he did.
Oh no! When you look at the contract, they didn't require him to do
that.
He
was never.
Just did it because
he was never required to do it at all. It was all him.
He just.
So he's saying he can be 80 pounds. No, just show up as you are. So I'm gonna be 80 pounds, right? Okay, I'll be that.
He's just hella committed.
Oh, okay, but so yeah, I don't really care about the actors' conveniences as long as it's not dangerous to them.
Fair enough.
There's so getting back to the Batman, Robert Pattinson Batman.
I like it because I think that one of the things when these movies are coming out so quickly all the time, when these things are being rebooted every 5 years or 2 years or whatever it is now.
Yeah.
One of the easiest ways to distinguish is the different things that you can do with the Bat costume.
Okay.
And it's such a long-lasting character that I'm always excited for fresh takes on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure.
I like the contour of the collar. I like how it looked. Obviously, we don't get like a full look at this. It's like in the red lighting. It's kind of a little unclear.
Yeah.
He looks great, I will say. His chin looks great. I think he looks attractive. I'm going to just say right now.
Well, Robert Pattinson is just an
He's a very good-looking man.
Yeah.
I'm actually very excited.
How is he not?
He has never been attractive.
I think a lot of Twilight fans are going to disagree with you right now, and all of them are going to not watch this podcast anymore because of that.
Might be.
You're bad, yeah. So another thing that needs to be commented on this, which you like and I hated, was for the bat symbol on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
It has been speculated, I don't know if this is true, that is actually parts of the gun that was used to kill his parents. Now, why do you like this?
I don't know. I guess I always assumed that he kept the gun for some reason, even though it would have been evidence. So probably the Gotham Police Department would have.
But it's so corrupt. They were like, "Hey, just have the gun,
just
kid.
Have the gun. Whatever, it's fine." But just also him probably wanting to solve the murder. Maybe I don't know if he wanted to do that right away, but for some reason I always thought he kept the gun. I think it's something that doesn't really matter. It feels like something that it would be like a small fact in a visual dictionary or something. I think it's a cool little nod, and it could be something quick.
But once you see it, you can't unsee it as that. Once you know that that's what that is. So now my problem with it is that the way that I interpret Batman, I guess, so this could be just personal to me, is that once his parents were killed,
right,
he no longer was Bruce Wayne. At that moment, at that time, he decided that he was Batman. And that is what he's been from since then. So he doesn't need to be reminded about his parents' death. Because he's Batman. He's already made that choice. So right. I don't see why he needs this. Like, I think you were mentioning that it's similar to what the Sith do. Like what Vader did.
So because I've only ever think about Star Wars, I looked at Batman like in terms of the Sith rules, where like if you're constantly reminding yourself of your pain, you're like stronger almost. And I feel like maybe it wouldn't work that way for Batman, but you could say that maybe if he's constantly reminded of the pain, he never loses the sharpness or the focus or the intensity at that level. But obviously when you look at the character like more deeply on the level like you were talking about, like the death of Bruce Wayne at that point, I think obviously that's what's intended now.
I think people will... if you're just a movie watcher, you wouldn't kind of understand that kind of interpretation because you're like, okay, he's Bruce Wayne and he's also Batman. But no, Bruce Wayne is the fake person. Bruce Wayne is not a real person. It's Batman now. So Bruce Wayne is a facade. Facade? Is that the word? Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's a facade. That's what he's throwing out to the public.
Like a disguise.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people miss that. So, like, Batman is the real, true him. So I don't think he needs a reminder of his parents. Like, does he keep their bodies around too, so he can just look around and like, yeah, gotta defend the city now. I've never Batman doesn't have these kind of internal crises about himself. Maybe that would come maybe that would be an interesting story, with him being kind of conflicted on whether or not he should go on as Batman. But being truthful to the character, I don't think that's how that would go down. Do you have any takes on this, Eva?
No.
All right, perfect.
So, but you're excited though for the movie, right? The Matt Reeves.
If it is going to be kind of like a detective movie in kind of line with Long Halloween,
that's what they're selling. That's what they're selling hardcore.
If that's what they're doing, where it's going to be like kind of like not a homage, but like a cameo after cameo. Like he needs to go talk to the Riddler or find out what the Penguin's doing to find the next clue. Like, I think that would make for a very interesting movie, and we haven't seen that from a Batman movie. And I think it would be
Calendar Man.
Calendar Man? Sure, why not?
We're doing Long Halloween, man.
What about Rainbow Suit Batman? Do you want that to make an appearance?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's the thing. 100% a thing. Yeah, don't give me that look. It exists.
I'm still thinking about the Penguin over
here. He's like Iron Man. He has suits for days.
Yeah, just not practical ones. So, yeah, hopefully the movie's good. I like the director. I like the actor. I don't know do you know who's writing it?
No idea.
No idea?
No idea on that one.
Okay, so I guess fingers crossed for that one.
Because it's not Chris Terrio. Please.
Who?
No more. Chris Terrio.
Who's that?
He is Episode 9, but he's also Batman v Superman, and he's also Justice League, and he's also...
Oh. So he's just got a great...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good resume. Great. All right, I think it's time to move on. Though, actually, no. Did you have any other Batman news?
Right. So, Catwoman is pregnant with Batman's baby right now.
In the comics?
That's just something that just happened, and it's a big deal. I think it's cool because I just kind of was like, wow, I'm surprised this hasn't ever happened ever before. Like,
well, you have.
I know the Talia al Ghul,
yeah,
like Damien situation, but I just assumed that like there was a Catwoman baby like at some point. I mean, it's,
I almost called her Tasha Yar. I almost said Tasha Yar.
it's cool
I forgot
because
her name.
I'm a big fan of the Catwoman Batman relationship. Like I've always liked it. I've always liked the back and forth. It's cool to have another Damien like character, but this time like what will that character be, right? What will they take from Selina? What will they take from Bruce Wayne? Like,
well, during Scott Snyder's run, and I think even just like the Batman and Robin comic back when New 52 was still a thing, I only read like the first like 3 collections because I read them as graphic novels. I liked their interpretation of Damien. Like he was out there to kind of prove himself because obviously like there's been like 12 Robins before him, and like I like there's a good bit. I don't know if it's in the Batman and Robin one or the Batman the main story one where he's like going around stealing stuff from all of the previous Robins to kind of prove himself to them, and like it's like, hey,
prove that he's the best Robin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good bit.
Question.
Yeah.
You said Catwoman's pregnant.
Sure.
Yeah.
So she's gonna have like triplets, right? Because she's a Catwoman and they have litters, and because that would make it more fun story-wise.
That'd be cool.
Also, is she like under protection now, where she's not allowed to go do bad stuff? Or like, are they letting her out and
I
play the game? Is somebody keeping
idea.
her in check? Because like the wrong fall and she'd lose the kids.
Who knows?
Comics are
weird.
I hope they go through with it.
So
I hope it's not like I hope it doesn't end up being like a false pregnancy or like.
I think it might be because
I want an actual character.
Well, I think the problem though is
because Damien's dead in canon, right? He
unless they brought him back.
He's gone down.
Yes, I think they killed him off. But the problem is now, okay, so we have this potential. So what do we do with the Batman comic? Do we push it 10 years so we can have these kids born and able to actually fight along? Or, like, what do we do with this?
Well, you have to essentially make Catwoman a stay-at-home mom and ruin her entire thing so that he can have a kid.
Oh, really? They can just have, like, maids and, like, caretakers that he's rich.
But what I'm saying,
so
what I'm saying is, like,
we're not going to see... You can't do that.
We're not going to see anything from these kids, though. Like, I know you're
not for a while.
You're hyping up this Robin thing, but like, the comics are going to be 10 years because they're going to reboot it at least 3 times before then.
But that's what I mean. That's why I want it to be an actual character and not just a mislead, because then we can have cooler characters down the road. You know what I mean? Because Damian Wayne, when it first started, like
everyone did not like that.
I wasn't a fan either.
Yeah.
But I ended up loving that character. Honestly, like I think he's a great addition to the mythos. Like
yeah.
And I think that there's a great opportunity to have that here, to make a long-lasting future character in that way. In all the ways that he could be different than Damian, but also in the ways that he could be...
It could also
or
be
she.
It could
exactly,
be a she,
right?
yeah.
Or it could be, like, multiple. Twins, triplets, whatever. Like, that would be really cool story-wise. And even if they have to build it, like, you know, the baby for, like, let's say they do that for 5 years. Like, in books, they're, like, babies... I'm pretty sure they'll go quick with it. I have a feeling that, like...
Well, I think the best way to kind of...
It's too good of a story point and thing to do not to, like, rush that, but you never know.
I think it should just be a miniseries. Like, we'll have a miniseries set 10, 15 years later, and then, like, have, like, if it's triplets, have whatever characters be part of it.
I think it's happening in the mainline stuff.
Yeah.
And also to answer your question, Eva, that like the panels that I've seen, it's like Catwoman's like in costume still and like pregnant. So I don't know what that means. Like I don't know if she's still crime fighting or stealing diamonds or what have you.
I just have to say that in the year that we're in and the massive amount of political input on women and pregnancy, I am amazed they're not getting a bunch of shit from a bunch of organizations.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Probably.
They always
do. But that gets more comics sold, so they'll take it.
Yeah, but those people are violent enough to, like, change laws. They could just be like, all right, we're now shutting down your company with lawsuits. Like, they do have to be somewhat careful.
I think DC would be fine. I think they'd be all right. So wait, who is writing Batman anyway?
No idea. Could not tell you.
I thought you were reading it.
I was, and then I wasn't.
Well, yeah, it's not as like New 52 was
not that compelling.
New 52 was so interesting, and then like now it's like they.
That's Scott Snyder run, man.
Man,
you can't beat that.
No, you can't. Not
for a while.
It was really good, But anyway, all right. I think we're done with the Batman news.
Right. So, but just to confirm, you want it to be like a hoax, or like you don't want like an actual character out of this. You want it.
Well,
to
no,
just
because it's not that interesting unless you make a miniseries of it that's set 10 years later. Because it's like, oh yeah, she's pregnant, but I have to wait 10 years for anything to come of that. So.
I mean, or they could just leverage the kids. Like, some villain gets a hold of them, holds them ransom, raises them to be like.
I'm sure they'll get a lot of those stories.
No, that's Damian Wayne's storyline. They can't do
really?
that. He was born and raised in secret and trained to kill Batman.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying train to kill. I mean,
get,
just like make them into little angry things that.
Well, that's what
will just destroy Gotham with no.
That's what. Well, that sounds very similar to Damian Wayne's origins. So
well,
probably...
then that would be a great story. Do that again.
Could you do a story where Batman's just like a deadbeat and he doesn't give them anything, and
He's
they're like living with
guy,
Selena Kyle like in the slums, and they have to steal right away.
Oh, maybe have like a marriage story, like marriage story where it's like about a divorce.
They are supposed to be like getting married or like trying to. Get
I thought
married.
they already stopped that.
I don't know. I'm confused. Anyway, so let's do this trivia now.
All right.
Ready to fail.
Oh no, okay. I guess who's gonna fail more? I think I'm gonna fail more.
I think you're better at trivia, to be honest.
I guess we'll see. So, if you wouldn't mind, Eva, running us through what's going to happen with this trivia.
Okay, essentially what we're doing here is category by category, because these boys are not. It's not fair to put them against each other in the same category because they have different interests. Except for Community, which they both like. So that will be our final. We're going to start out with Star Wars for Mr. Carlos, South Park for Ryan, Parks and Rec for Carlos, and Babylon 5 for Ryan. Community will then be our tiebreaker category.
Okay. I think I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
Alright, well, we're starting with Star Wars. So, Carlos. The Empire Strikes Back primarily takes place in two sectors. The Sluice sector, I think I'm pronouncing that right, that includes the Dagobah system, and what other system? Sector, sorry.
Oh, wow, that's a great question.
Great start. All right.
Do you have these answers on deck if I get them wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, so the Sluice system.
Because he's not really a Star Wars fan, is he?
Guess not.
Ah, man. Is Bespin a sector? No, Bespin's a planet.
Bespin is a planet. Yeah.
Bespin is in the sector you're looking for, though. So is Hoth.
I don't know the sector names. No, I'm not going to get that.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Anoat, A-N-O-A-T.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right on the pronunciation.
Wow.
Okay, so the next one. This character used to smuggle guns before opening a diner on Coruscant and is partially named after George Lucas's son.
Is that Dexter?
The last name?
Jetster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Dexter Jetster has a cool backstory. That's why he knew that cool stuff about the...
Too bad he sucks in the movie, though.
Caminos.
Huh? What?
I don't know that he sucks. He's just bigger. What if he's just...
No, I meant like, too bad this character sucks in the movies, because he just sits there in a diner scratching his ass and talking to Obi-Wan. That's all he does.
Hey, he was having his best life over there.
Dart. I love that scene. I love his diner. I don't care what the haters say.
I don't. It doesn't affect me. It's barely memorable.
All right, I got one.
All right, what lies below the Jedi Temple on Coruscant?
Oh, there's a Sith temple.
I think that's
a Sith temple down there.
You need more?
Oh yeah, that's too easy.
Oh,
when was it? Okay, if you can tell me when it was revealed, do tell me.
I know that. Like I know in canon when it was revealed. That's in Tarkin.
It is in Tarkin.
Yeah, that's in Tarkin. They talk
give you
about
the point.
it. It's cool. Sidious is down there, and they make 114D, which was Plagueis' droid. Do you remember Plagueis' droid? I think.
Yeah, I remember Plagueis'
They
droid.
make that. They bring him back into canon because Plagueis still has the 114D, and he's like.
Oh, okay, right. But I read Tarkin. I guess I forgot that.
Right, and then also like in canon, like I guess the Jedi they thought that. By putting their temple on top of it, they were kind of containing it, but really they were being corrupted.
Yeah, it's a dumb idea.
Okay, so what Star Wars creature that we see in the original trilogy reproduces by spores?
What creature reproduces by spores?
Original trilogy specifically introduced.
Wow.
If it helps you, it takes them 30,000 years to mature when they're burrowed underground.
I think that does help him.
I want to say Minox, but I don't think so. I'm
You
trying to
were
think of
wrong.
like a spore creature.
What about the spore drive in Star Trek Discovery?
That's exactly what my mind went.
Gross.
Oh, it is. Oh, it 100% is gross. It ruins the Star
Yeah,
Trek.
no, I don't know.
It's the Sarlacc.
Oh, wow. By spores? I didn't know
Apparently,
that.
yeah.
That's insane.
Do you want to hear the description here?
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
Okay, Sarlaccs begin their lives as spores in order to travel great distances. When a small male Sarlacc meets a larger female Sarlacc, the male will parasitically feed off the female until he grows to her original size, and then he explodes into spores.
Okay, I have a
That
question.
sounds disgusting.
I have a question.
Mhm.
How do these things meet? Do they have holes that right beside each other?
I don't know.
Do Sarlaccs move?
I don't know. I thought
They're
they were
spores. They
thought
can
were
just be carried
stationary.
around.
I guess, but like you said,
Maybe
when
you
they
have to
meet,
like maybe two spores have to like land around each other.
Well, the females are larger, so perhaps they're more able to move around, and then the males that we know just blow up into spores.
I would have never gotten that it was the Sarlacc.
I didn't.
That's like
yeah, I'm gonna. Eva ran by these questions for me to gauge how hard they were. Just Star Wars ones. This is Star Wars one. But yeah, no, I went with like I'm like the Rancor, and actually my first thought was the things from Felucia. Felucia.
Felucia.
Yeah. The those giant things with the crab legs.
Right. They have names.
Yeah, they have names.
Okay, your last question for this will be, how many dewbacks are in the original 1977 theatrical cut of Star Wars? And then, how many were added for the most current edition, the Blu-ray release of the original trilogy?
So I'm gonna say that originally there was one, and I'm gonna say that in the latest it's up to 4.
You're wrong. There was 2 originally and 5 were added.
Wow.
Wow.
Those are great questions.
Thank you. All right, Ryan, are you ready?
Ugh, no, I'm not. Now I'm really nervous.
Okay, for South Park.
South Park.
South Park.
Okay, in How to Eat with Your Butt, what does Kenny do in his school picture?
Oh, he kind of goes on a handstand and has his butt where his face is. So he turns.
No, where's his clothing?
Where is his clothing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, his hoodie's on his butt.
Yes, there we go.
Okay.
Wow. Great memory.
I love South Park. You don't seem to understand. I've seen it so many times.
Okay, in the episode, Apologies to Jesse Jackson,
Love that episode.
what is the midget's name?
Sorry, I'm just laughing at that episode and the oh my jeez. I want to say he's a doctor, but maybe he's not.
I don't really care what he does. What's his name?
Filbert.
David Nelson.
I was never gonna get that.
In
Deep
what
cuts.
year did South Park win the Peabody Award?
Uh, 2005.
Yes!
Wow. That was a guess, right?
You'll never know.
I won't.
You'll never know.
Who gave Cartman pink eye?
Pink eye specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Butters.
Scott Biao.
Scott Bow.
His name's Bao? It's B-I-A-O.
Oh, okay.
Okay, last one is, how many words can Timmy say?
Okay, this is tough. Okay. He can say Timmy. He can say Jimmy. You can say living like Timmy. And then those are the those are the 3 things I know that he said.
So how many words?
Timmy, Jimmy, living like. So 4 words.
He can say 4 words.
Wow.
Timmy's a great
That's
character.
impressive.
That show is great for having mentally handicapped characters that aren't the joke, but like that are part of the series and just natural characters. I really like
And
that.
that can be funny.
And that can be funny, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Parks and Rec.
Oh my god, I'm about
Now,
to get wrecked.
You have to forgive me if I don't pronounce names of that correctly because I've never seen the show.
Okay.
Okay, which former presidential candidate did Leslie encounter in the Hay Adams Hotel in the episode Miss Nope Goes to Washington?
Oh, Joe Biden?
No, John McCain.
John McCain. Damn it.
What board game does Ben insist on playing as part of his stag night before Chris insists that each of the attenders name names and acts out their own fantasy stag night activity.
Settlers of Catan.
It is Settlers of Catan.
Nice. Haven't played that, so.
It's really good.
Why do we pronounce it Settlers? It should be Settlers of Catan.
Settlers? I don't know.
But they just didn't put an E there.
Weird.
Will upset me forever. In the episode London, Andy Dwyer mistakes Buckingham Palace for which fictional building?
Hogwarts Castle.
Yes.
That would have been my guess, actually. I would have guessed that.
In the final episode, One Last Ride, what is the title of the film about his failures that Tom Haverford watches over and over again?
Oh my gosh. No, I don't know. I don't got that one.
Swaggerless. What first name is shared by Ron's first two wives and his mother?
Tammy.
Correct. Again, sorry if the difficulty goes up and down, as I've never seen it. It was hard for me to tell what was easy and what was hard.
These are still really good questions.
Okay, Babylon 5.
Okay, this is where I'm done. I'm not gonna get these. Okay, what do you got?
Who was the Vorlon ambassador to Babylon 5?
Master Kosh.
Correct. What is the name of Earth's force fighters?
Earth Force Fighters?
Yeah.
Like the ships?
I don't know. It says, what is the name of Earth's force fighters?
Oh my jeez.
What are the ships called?
Yeah.
What
Like
are the
an
not ships
like an
called?
organizational name. Sounds like it wants.
Yeah. I can't remember what the fighters are called now. I can see them. I don't have it. What is it?
Star Furies.
They are called Star Furies. Yep.
What race gave jump gate technology to the humans?
Okay. I want to say it was the Centauri.
Yes.
Yeah. There was different options there. Centauri seemed the most likely.
What race has a weapon that was a huge black cloud that contained thousands of missiles and was capable of devastating an entire planet?
Which species?
Yeah, what's race, but species might be the right way to put it.
Shadows?
It is the Shadows.
That sounds like a really cool weapon.
What is the name of the human who works for the Shadows?
Mr. Morden.
It is Mr. Morden. All right, we're about to go into our last category, but I'll
question
tell
for
you
you.
what our score is
What
at.
do you want?
Yes. Yeah, you've seen it. Actually, you haven't seen it.
But I know.
You know it. Oh, sorry. Yes, I think she's giving us what our scores are so far.
Nice.
Yeah, before we hit community, our final and tie-breaking one, Ryan is at 7 points and Carlos is at 5, so he'll have to get all of his questions correct to make it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Oof.
Now, what I'm going to do is go Carlos and then Ryan, Carlos and then Ryan, Carlos and... Okay?
I'm just glad it wasn't a complete blowout.
Yeah, me too. I got questions right. Look at that.
I'm very sorry, honey, but he gets a really easy first question.
Of course.
All right, Carlos, why does Jeff start the club?
Because he wants to have sex with Britta.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Yeah,
Ryan.
okay, good reason.
Yeah.
Pierce offers how much money to Britta to switch cards with her for a Spanish class project?
I think it was $10,000.
It was $100.
Was it $100? Damn.
All right, Carlos. Abed's dad owns a company that makes what?
Falafel?
Yes.
Oh, hey, see, this is not good. I think he's tied me now, right?
He has tied you.
Oh my jeez.
All
Okay.
right, Ryan. Who does Shirley dress up as at Oh, my apologies. Who does Shirley dress up as at Annie's Dia de los Muertos party?
Yes. Is that right, Carlos? That's Spanish. You should know that.
Did I
right?
pronounce
Yeah.
it correctly?
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Harry Potter.
Yes.
I confused
That's
that with the
hard.
one where they think she's Miss Piggy.
I had to do the quiz to
I was
get
like-
these questions, and I also put Miss Vicky.
Okay, yeah. That was my first thought, but I was like, no, it's not that one.
All right, Carlos. Britta and Vaughn had a band together. What was it called?
It wasn't called Staring at the Wall, Carlos.
No, I don't got it. Do you know it?
No. News to me.
It's Some Worries.
No, I was never gonna get it.
All right, Ryan.
Yep.
Ovid spoils his own surprise party in one episode. Which popular 1994 movie, one of Ovid's favorites, does all the group dress up as to celebrate his birthday?
Well, this is it's Pop Fiction. Pulp Fiction. There, I almost said Pop Fiction.
It is Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
Well, Ryan won trivia with 9 points. Carlos lost
Excellent.
at 7.
Excellent job.
Wow.
It wasn't a blowout, you guys.
You know what? Handshake, sir.
Yeah. By the way, those Star Wars questions were awesome. Like, that's awesome. I didn't even know all that stuff.
I would like to do this again. This was tons of fun. So if
Fun
you,
on a bun.
well, on the run, yes. If you're willing to ever do it again for us, Eva, let us know.
Thank you very much.
We very much appreciate it. But I think with that, we're going to take ourselves a little bit break. If you want to say bye to the folks, Eva.
Yeah, I'm going to be stepping out. I got other things I got to do today, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate spending the time with you guys. It was fun.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back, guys. And now we're going to be talking about video games that we've been playing or have played. So, do you want to go or do you want me to start?
I can start.
Okay,
if you
so
want to.
what have you been playing?
So jumping off of Batman, I recently started replaying Arkham City.
Now, you got the PS4 trilogy? Is it all of them or is it just a couple of them?
It's just the first two, and it's
Okay.
It's called Return to Arkham,
Okay.
and I guess it's just like the updated versions of the games with like everything unlocked. I think.
Oh,
start out-
do you get all the DLC maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's really fun.
Okay.
Playing Batman Beyond suit, obviously. Even though I love the design of the Batman suit in both Arkham games.
Yeah.
I love that aesthetic. It's such great memories from like the time that those games came out, and just such a good representation of Batman.
Yeah.
Like, even though the second game has the weaker story, which is something you alluded to, I feel like both stories are still pretty great in terms of video games and in terms of just like different Batman stories.
Well,
Because I feel like usually video games don't care as much.
I think
especially during that era.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like the second one kind of gets muddled, whereas the first one is very clear
It's very
and
tight.
focused. Exactly. So that's what I prefer. But like, yeah, I very much like the first two Arkham games. Arkham Knight I never beat. I should probably get back to it. There's just a lot of car stuff that I don't care about. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously it became a franchise, but just like especially that first game was like revolutionary for me. Like,
yeah.
Just the first time Batman like done like almost 100% perfect like that first game. There's a couple of things that you can point to, but
it tries to tackle all the stuff about Batman, whereas like the movies we get a portion of it. Like we get he's a great fighter in the games, and we get the fact that he's a detective in the games as well. And usually they pick one or the. Actually, we haven't seen them do detective yet. We're hopefully going to see them do detective in the movies, but so that it's good to get all multifacets of Batman's character in a game, and also just getting to see all these new designs. I really like Arkham's designs for all the villains, or at least most of them.
the aesthetic just all around, like even Arkham City, like it's beautiful. It really is. Like it looks so perfect for what Batman should be, and it's gritty and dirty, not for the sake of that, but like it just fits the character, and everything just kind of works together. It's so funny the combat, man. Like thinking back to it now, like people think that like the Batman games like really pioneered that counter thing, but even like playing Spider-Man, that it's evolved so much. Going back was a little hard, but it's still really fun.
Okay,
it gets a little monotonous here and there.
When there's like big crowds or something like that.
Yeah, but I played the way of like I'm gonna do a lot of grinding to get all my XP early so I can just be really OP right away. But I will say it's still really fun. Everything holds up, and it's just great. Like it's great to go back to something, revisit it, and not be like disappointed or let down. And after playing Jedi Fallen Order, man, those load times, like what a difference. And it's so funny that a game that's so much older can be just like right on the money, whereas Fallen Order, I'm just like waiting and dying and waiting.
Okay, I'm going to say something maybe controversial. I don't know if this is going to be controversial. I think Mark Hamill plus the design of the Joker is probably the best. I think it's even better than the animated series.
Just because the design is so much more sinister. And
I really like the design of the Joker, yes.
I love it.
Man, I really like in the first game. I think I don't know if it's DLC, but you can play as the Joker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. and it's really fun because you get the teeth and the gun, and it's very interesting.
Is it a different like story?
Oh no,
kind of, or,
I think it's actually like a series of missions. If
Right.
you want like almost like stealth missions or whatever, when you're like walking around the guards or like trying to get away from the guards, it's very interesting. But yeah, okay, Arkham City.
right.
I'm
And then
sure. Did it update very well? Like, is it remastered? Like, does it feel worth it on the PS4?
you know what? It is like enhanced. Like it's not to the point like if you played the GTA on PS3 and then played the PS4 version, like that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
Like I feel like those games were already performing at such a high level for what the PS3 could do,
Okay.
and it already looked really really good. And this looks better still, but it's very slight. What is fun is to be able to have all the DLC unlocked already at the beginning and
Yeah.
to be able to play around with it. I haven't really noticed like a huge difference. Maybe the audio is like a little better, clearer too, like things
Okay.
like that, but
Yeah.
nothing major.
Okay. Right.
I kind of want to go back and play Arkham Asylum now, honestly.
Honestly, of the trilogy, that, or I guess there's also Arkham Origins, but the first one will remain my favorite. Arkham City might give you more freedom to do stuff, but again, I'm not a freedom guy. I like having a very concise narrative where, like, this is where you're supposed to go, and then you just kind of follow that path. I like that. So
right.
Arkham has that, and also a good, concise story. One singular villain.
So transitioning out of that, before I revisited that, I finished Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, finally!
Load times.
What
Okay.
we talked about like a month ago.
We did. So I got to the planet of the Inquisitorius. That's cool. That was in there.
Well,
Nice.
the tower is really cool.
Nice touch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Now, we had talked about this when we talked about the story, but I
Yeah.
feel like the story is like it's the best thing you could have done with it, where it's placed in the timeline, you know, considering all that stuff.
Yeah.
It is limited, and I totally understand what you mean. Like, the placement makes it limited scope because we know that they can't get away with this holocron. We know that
Something has to happen.
something has to happen. So it being, you know, destroyed. I really appreciate that you had to run away from Vader. I think that that's like the best way that could have been handled, because
yeah.
like just canon wise, and it feels like they just respected where things should be, and like they knew, right? Like there's no way, you know, Cal Kestis, like he's not gonna survive. Like he's just not. He's gone done. None of them.
I really don't like that. What is she, the third sister? What is the Trilla?
Trilla is the second sister.
I don't like that she just keeps her mask off for the rest of the game.
She wanted more FaceTime.
She's a video game character. The mask was so
I like
cool.
her character
I
design,
like
so-
masks. I like masks. So keep them on if you're gonna wear them, or don't wear them at all.
Yeah.
One or the other. So but yeah. So did you like? Because I really liked the last area because it was almost like a gauntlet that you had to run, because they're throwing like almost all the guys that you fought throughout the game.
I loved it because I had leveled up my skill tree to the max. At
Oh
this
wow!
point.
Yeah.
Also, I did that pretty early game, so I've had a lot of fun with the game because I did sit there and just defeat the same group of enemies until I maxed everything out
Right.
early.
Okay.
So I was powerful like right through the game. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it was fun. Like I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. See, you and I kind of do these things very differently. I don't like to. I'm gonna call it wasting time. It's not wasting time for you. I don't like to waste my time in going back and grinding up my levels. I kind of want to do that as I'm fighting characters.
And you're meant to. That's the way those games are designed. But I've always found the balancing on that to be like hit and miss in a lot of games.
Okay.
Some games, like if you do that, if you just play through and level up by doing like the story missions and what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
it's a pretty satisfying experience. But then sometimes I find like sometimes you don't get enough if you just do the main stuff. Sometimes you get too little.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't like to mess with the balance of that, and I always like to play with my characters maxed out. That's just how I am. Like,
Okay.
and I have a lot of patience for sitting there and grinding. You know what I mean? Like,
I think because as I've gotten older now, I kind of like want to dedicate not as much time to video games per day. Like I used to sit down and play video games for like 4 or 5 hours, easy.
right.
Now I can maybe do 2 hours, maybe if that. So I don't want to spend half of it trying to grind before I get to the next part. I just want to keep playing. I want to finish the story or
Absolutely.
get to the next area. But so yeah, Fallen Order, has your opinion changed on it now that you've beaten it?
Honestly, for me, it became better because
Okay.
I like even you had already told me how the story goes.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish that hadn't happened, but I didn't care at the time, and I still don't really. But
Right.
it's a really satisfying story for me from start to finish. I really love the character of Cal. I love where the timeline is. I love all the little details and the canon details, and it's just satisfying to get a video game in Star Wars that I'm actually happy with and proud of, and I can say like, oh look, we have a good one. It's been years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know it's not perfect. I know it has so many flaws, and it's very limited. Like with the skill tree, for example, I really wish I would have gotten something else with the skill tree, a bigger tree, more, because I had points literally just like sitting by the end. You know what I
Really?
mean? Because
Yeah.
I couldn't use them for anything.
Yeah.
And also, have an alternative, right? Like I'm still getting skill points. Someone like me that maxed out real early, like I'm still getting skill points. I can't use them.
You also made a good point because they kind of tease you with the Jorkai
Dual fencing, yeah.
dual fencing, and then it's only just one.
They got
move.
lazy there. They didn't want to design an entire different stance because they did it for the double blade.
They did, yeah.
They should have committed. If you put that scene in there where he splits the blades, you should have committed to designing a whole third style because, for example, like I know it's not as in depth, but like even Mortal Kombat, like Mortal Kombat 10 and 11, they have those like different styles that you can play each character. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
yeah.
it's kind of like that. Like I know it wouldn't have been that much more design. I don't know about video game design, but I am happy with what I got though. I'm really satisfied with it. I think that there's just little points that are shortcomings, but overall it's very cinematic. Like you were talking about helmets before.
Yeah.
Like that whole reveal where Seer's being tortured and Second Sister gets the helmet and everything they did with the psychometry through the game, how that weaved into telling the story.
Yeah.
Little touches like his master being a Lasat, which you pointed out to me, which is the same as Zeb from Rebels.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff, man. It's really satisfying to get that new video game, and it just takes me back to being a kid because Star Wars video games used to be really good. You know, for a while. There's a lot of really good like PS2 era Star Wars games.
Like
that
we talked about
that
actually.
Bounty Hunter game.
Oh yeah,
sick,
that one was fun. Yeah.
Republic Commandos, like, please.
Now I have an idea here, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I think Star Wars video games should not be canon, and therefore should be allowed more freedom in terms of what you can and can't do.
I agree.
I don't like the limitations. It's like, okay, if you set it between 3 and 4, then these things have to happen. So you can't somehow mess that up at all.
See, I agree as far as if we're telling stories within what we already know, but just like with the movies, it just needs to. If everything's still gonna be canon, which they've already broken that, they've already contradicted a bunch of places, and there's videos about it. You can look it up.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Everybody knew it would happen, but I didn't think it would happen this soon, this quickly, and this egregiously. I feel like I don't know.
Well, I'm just kind of thinking because like there's so much limitations, and I get that for making TVs, movies, but like I think video games you have all this freedom. Like why not have your character fight Palpatine and beat him, or like why not have like these weird things happen? You know,
these what ifs.
These what ifs. Like here's an interesting idea. I don't know if you're familiar with Battlefield Bad Company, but maybe having like some kind of like parody Star Wars games. I know like the Lego Star Wars is kind of like that,
right?
But maybe have like these characters like actually no, you know what those stormtroopers. What is I can't remember what that is now. There's those stormtrooper comic books where those guys, like there's two guys who keep,
Tag and Bink.
Yeah. Maybe have something like that in video game form, where like these two guys are like they kind of falling into all the original trilogy shenanigans or prequel shenanigans, and I think that they could have a lot more fun with it than they're having. I think is kind of what I'm getting at here.
I agree with you. I really hope that things kind of change. I'm really surprised that we got a good game out of EA. Like I know it was Respawn, but like. You know EA owns the license, and you know that they're just in control of just everything in video games right now. So
I mean, that's true.
I hope that we keep getting better because Battlefront 2 is a lot better than Battlefront 1, even though it's limited. You know what I mean? Even though it'll never touch the pandemic version of Battlefront 2.
No.
But whatever. All the haters say that it's better now. I disagree with you. I think that it took too long to get what we already had in 2005, and that experience is still better for me.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
All you have is graphics, and you know what? They're beautiful, but I mean, something looking beautiful can only get you so far. Like
exactly. No, I 100% agree. Again, because we come from the era where we grew up with a PlayStation 2, so graphics don't matter as much.
What I will say about Battlefront 2, though, because I want to be fair, those writers really did put a lot of work into that story in terms of what they connected, and they've come out and said they wanted to make it longer and bigger. They wanted Aiden Versio to stay on the Empire side for at least 4 to 8 more missions than what was there.
Oh, jeez.
So that's just really sad because that story could have been really, really good. But just the way that the cuts were made, it ended up only being 4 hours, and ended up only being quick.
But why does
But if you go to, like, for example, when you go to Takodana in Battlefront 2 for a mission or whatever,
Yeah.
there's so much, like, so many cool conversations happening between the NPCs that you explore. That the writing there, man, is so solid because they like the NPCs are actually talking like canonical stuff that you can know about.
Right.
That's something in a video game where that's using the connectivity properly, which is something that Lucasfilm isn't doing on the whole. You know what I mean? Like they're not using it properly. Either they're ignoring it or it's limiting. Like,
okay.
It's never that sweet spot where it's like satisfyingly tying in, which is what I want.
Well, I just want them to. Why can't characters just stay with the Empire? Why do they always have to go to the Rebellion? Why can't we? Why does it always have to be like that?
Sienna technically stayed pretty much until the end. Sienna Ree from Lost Stars. She pretty much stayed up until the end of her.
But okay, kind of.
Not her life, I guess, but her tenure. She finished her service in like.
I guess, but I just want. Okay, because Star Wars wants to be more complex.
Right.
Why not have a complex story where it's like, hey, maybe the Empire was pretty good. We get one line of dialogue in The Mandalorian about the Empire actually being maybe good for something. But like any other canon, any other canon stuff though is like, no, the Empire, like it seems like it's this, but it's really horrible. I'm like, no, there has to be some kind of good things, and no one's talking about it, and it kind of irritates me. Because then Star Wars stays at that level where it's like good and evil.
Mm-hmm. I'm really starting to get an appreciation for Star Trek that way, man. That's smarter sci-fi. Yeah. But it's different. That's the fantasy in it, right? Like that's the fairy tale fantasy type storytelling that
fantasy
exists.
Can be complex though. In the book I'm reading now, good guys and bad guys aren't so clear cut. So whatever. Star Wars.
So you've been playing video games also.
I have been, yes. Actually, from the same developers, From Software. These are the guys who do the Dark Souls series. So, as you guys, I think we've alluded to this a couple times, I've been playing a game called Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. I've beaten it a couple times now, and now I've started Bloodborne. Now, the reason I started Bloodborne, this is interesting, is my best friend, one of my best friends, not you, obviously, he refuses to try out Sicario because he feels like it's too difficult.
So weird. He's so good at those games.
But there is like he has to get out of that mindset though, because now playing Bloodborne, I can kind of see the mindset. Ooh. So like I made a deal with him. If I beat Bloodborne, he has to beat Sicario.
Called out,
Sekiro,
son.
yeah, and he has agreed.
Oh,
perfect. So I've been hitting Bloodborne like not I don't want to say nonstop, but a lot. For like the past like week and a half.
Right. So like, it's like Dark Souls but like steampunk guns, right? That's what we're looking at here?
No, it's like I guess it's kind of like Dark Souls if like set in like if you were like Van Helsing.
Yes,
like,
I love it.
Like almost like Victorian era in terms of weaponry and stuff like that. You do have guns, but they're not like machine guns or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to, instead of like talking about these games kind of individually, I kind of wanted to do a comparison.
A little compare and contrast.
A little compare and contrast.
Well, I'll ask you right away. Like, it seems like the biggest thing is the combat.
Okay.
Like, because it's the same idea in terms of like the theme, the type of game, the gameplay style, but it seems completely different. So if he has a hard time getting into it, because overall it's the same idea for the game, right? In terms of the way the gameplay, the category.
On first glance, it seems very similar. But it is a bit different. Now that I've played both of them, I can see that there is differences. Now, the first, like I kind of have a list of negatives and positives. Then you mentioned combat, and I will put that's kind of one of the negatives for Bloodborne that I have is that compared to Sekiro, the combat kind of feels clunky. I don't feel like I'm improving on the game in the game, really. Right. Whereas in Sekiro, like every time, like I felt like once I deflected all these attacks, like I felt great. I felt like I was improving as the game was going on. Whereas this one, I'm like, I feel like I keep getting lucky. It's weird because here's the difference in combat. So in Bloodborne, Now, obviously, I'm not an aficionado, so please forgive me for all the mistakes I'm going to make by saying these things. You kind of dodge into attacks. You have a thing called invincibility frames.
Right.
So if you dodge at the right time, you like even though the swing looks like it would hit you, because you dodge at the right time, it doesn't. And that's how you get positioning on the characters. And then you get in there, and then you hit them, and then you back off, and then wait for them to attack again, and you kind of rinse and repeat that.
Right.
And I don't find it as satisfying. Whereas in Sekiro, well, you can dodge, obviously, but also the game wants you more to deflect. So like if you hit block at the right when they hit you, it deflects and it does posture damage.
Really?
And if you do enough posture damage, it'll kind of take away their health. Like they have health and posture. Now you can either take away their health and beat them, or take away their posture and beat them. You have these two options. Now the game, you can't dodge attacks like by going through them like you can in Bloodborne. So
Right.
I find it more of an actual sword fight or an actual battle.
More satisfying.
It's a lot more satisfying, even though you do still get the thrill, because what Bloodborne does have, I think, better than Sekiro is it has a variety of bosses. Sekiro, for some reason, a lot of the mini bosses and some of the actual bosses are repeated,
Oh.
and which I don't like. I don't like that at all. Like you fight the corrupted monk twice, kinda. They may fight a little different, but it's the same idea.
Right.
You fight the guardian ape twice, and it's like you could have thrown in something new. Whereas
That being said, though, it's interesting that you bring that up because you're on your third playthrough of the game now.
Sekiro, yeah.
So obviously the gameplay is strong enough that
Oh.
it trumps it.
Oh, the gameplay is the main reason to play Sekiro, because it is so satisfying getting those deflects, because like there's a satisfying ting to it. Like there's a parry system in Bloodborne, but again, it almost feels like I accidentally get the parry. Like it shouldn't work. Like there's something so slow about Bloodborne in general. I think, again, I guess Sekiro has tainted my view of this, even though I did play Bloodborne first, and I have played a little bit of Dark Souls.
You did.
So
You're okay at Dark Souls.
yeah. So you know what? I'm gonna kind of back up here now. Now that I'm gonna talk about some things I do like in Bloodborne, though,
Right.
that I think it matches or it can be better than Sekiro. And the first thing is atmosphere. Like the horror, like it captures the gothic horror theme very well, at least for the first half, because
I love it.
oh yeah, it's great. All the sounds are horrifying. The design, the level design
Right.
is also really well done in terms of how it looks. There's a lot of smoky areas.
It's linear, right? It's not. Is it an open world? It's linear.
It's open world-ish, yeah. So like, there's a lot of exploring you can do if you want. Yeah, you know, it's definitely not linear. Like if you can kind of follow a path a little bit, but yeah, no. So like all the areas look really nice, and they kind of go with the themes that they've been trying to go for. But like, yeah, no, the sounds, the creature designs, the level designs themselves, all of it works so well together at making you kind of feel uncomfortable, feel a little scared.
Love it.
And also there's jump scares a little bit, sometimes, which I can't stand, but it's part of the horror theme, so I have to accept it.
Right.
And so yeah, and then again, like, it has interesting designs for bosses. Again, not all the bosses are good bosses. There are some bosses that are a little too easy. There are bosses that I think are a little too unforgiving.
Okay.
But again, that's also a Sekiro. But yeah, no.
But the design is.
I think that's kind of like the biggest thing about Bloodborne. Biggest appeal to it is the design of everything.
It's a
Is the
beautiful game.
theme of it.
How's the customization?
Customization. You do get a lot of different choices of weapons.
Right.
I've stuck with one weapon. I've just stuck with that and just been upgrading that one just because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I wonder though, like if there's a big difference in play style if you're doing a different weapon.
If I were to try it, probably.
But no, I would play the same way. I would stick to one weapon and level it max
I'm not risking it. No.
I'm very much like,
yeah.
this is what you gave me. All right, this is getting maxed.
Now that you know what, I'm going to compare their stories now. Now, both of them, they have a different way of trying to portray the story.
Right.
So, Bloodborne is kind of more based on situational cues, and there isn't a very clear story. You're pretty much just a hunter, and you're hunting creatures. Now, there is probably more to it if you were to like look into a lot of things and talk to every NPC.
Right.
But
it's one of those games where the story would be like in something that you find or a conversation that you have.
yeah, or like even from fighting a boss,
rather than it being like told to you in a like cinematic narrative fashion.
Yeah, now I understand that in the Dark Souls community, they very much like this kind of stuff. It's kind of like it goes with their lore. They like the lore of it. They like all these things working together. Now, I don't like this. I like stories. I like being told a story. I don't like having to maybe watch a 30-minute YouTube video that tells me what the story was because I didn't go to every single area.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of gamer you are because I'm the very type of gamer that I like to collect everything. I love a collectathon.
Yeah.
So if you put like the story in the notes or the audio logs or whatever the bonuses, like I'll find them all.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of person.
Okay.
Like in Fallen Order, I got all the like Force Echo stuff.
Oh, okay.
Literally all of them. So and that took a while.
Yeah.
I love that kind of gameplay, but if you're not that kind of gamer, like the story gets lost on you.
Again, gameplay matters more than story.
Different levels too, because if you remember back in BioShock, for example, there are those like recordings that you find.
Yeah.
And they're awesome and like fascinating and little snippets, but like it's more organic, I feel like.
There's no kind of audio logs really in this or any kind of like notes that are that give any kind of story. It is mostly on context clues and what you can kind of decipher.
Not a fan.
But again, I understand that it's for a lot of people. Obviously, the people in the Soulsborne, I think is what they call it, the community, they like that kind of stuff. I personally like Sekiro, where like it is still, you can still, some of it is context clues, but a lot of it is told. You know what you're doing, you know what the story is, you know what you're supposed to be doing. It isn't just like, oh, you got to just fight everything that you come across. It's like the story is basically you're a shinobi for the divine heir. And your idea is like he wants to sever the there's like a I don't want to call it a curse, but there's something on the divine heir's lineage which allows them to live like they're immortal, and he wants to sever that tie because it corrupts people around him who want to use that ability for specific purposes.
Wow.
So like the idea is like the whole game is like you're trying to find ways to get rid of it.
Right. And
you have to go find a blade that does this thing, and then you have to go find something else. Like I like having this told to me more so than I like having try to discover it myself.
Just to engage kind of where you're coming from.
Yeah.
How important is story versus gameplay for you when you're talking about video games?
100% gameplay matters more.
Right. Okay.
Because I come from the era where like Crash Bandicoot,
was no...
like when the story is like, hey, go do these things, and like, because you're playing the game. And you're watching the story, what's more important? Well, obviously playing the game because that's what I'm here to do. So that's why with Bloodborne, like, okay, the story is more through context. I have to do all this stuff by myself, but like it doesn't matter because the gameplay is so good.
Right.
So gameplay matters more than story. So if the story's horrible, if the gameplay is amazing, then the game's good. But if the story was great and the gameplay was horrible, then I don't think I would consider that a good
mediocre.
Game. Yeah, or something, or at best, yeah. So.
Right.
Because then I'll just watch all the cutscenes. Then then I don't need to actually play the video game.
No, absolutely.
But yeah. So there are some other things I do have issues with. There are some. You know what? I'm going to say some issues for Sicario because I've been trash talking Bloodborne a little bit here. Actually, let me just look at my list. I almost forgot. During boss fights, which are the most tense fights in the game, there are camera issues.
Ooh.
Because of the area that you're fighting the bosses, sometimes like the camera will get lost, and then by the time you rearrange it, you get stabbed and you're dead. That happens way too often. So I didn't like that. The lock-on system is also a bit iffy because sometimes if you're too far away or if they move behind something, you'll lose the lock-on, and like that moment could cost you everything. So like these are kind of maybe nitpicks, but like they do affect the game because if you make that one mistake, you can't afford to make mistakes in these games or you're just dead.
You don't have a lot of hits.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. So also, I think Bloodborne, I think because it's very similar to Dark Souls, it's better to die in those games than it is in Sekiro, because basically in Bloodborne, if you die, you just kind of lose your blood echoes that you've been collecting, but you can get them back if you get back to the area that you died at. So there isn't much loss there. Whereas in Sekiro, there's like dragon rot, which can affect side quests.
Oh my god!
And if you lose half your money, and you lose half your experience. But you can get skill points, and then like once you get a skill point, you can't lose the skill point. But still, I find it's way too harsh if you
That
lose.
sounds savage, dude. That sounds very frustrating and punishing.
It can be 100%. So they do have mechanisms to kind of stop to kind of mitigate as much as you lose, but still, it is
You lose.
You still lose a lot.
You still lose.
Uh,
I don't like games with those kinds of mechanics. I know,
Yeah.
I understand like adding pressure to the game and like making things time sensitive, but I just like to like be able to take my time. I don't like timers on things. That's why Majora's Mask is so difficult for me, even though it's a great game.
Yeah.
That mechanic, just like any kind of like things rotting, things being time sensitive, like, and I feel like that's so. Like if I were to work hard in Sekiro to grind out and like get a lot of money or something, and then it was half of it was like taken away, I think I would like I'd break down.
You can buy like it's weird. You can buy these money pack things where like it'll have a certain
Like
amount of money,
protection.
and then if you die, you don't lose them. So you just have to sell them when you. But it's still a little tedious.
How is the like what's the aesthetic? What's the design Sekiro? Like it's samurai
Oh,
stuff,
it's
right?
pretty much samurai, ancient Japan.
Is it clean or it looks pretty, like from what I've seen, it looks pretty kind of darker and dirtier and grittier.
It's not as clean cut. Like a lot of the costumes, a lot of the outfits people are wearing are pretty clean. But like when it comes to the actual like areas, no, yeah, it kind of feels like there's like not as clean. Yeah, exactly. So in terms of aesthetic, it pretty much comes to preference when it comes to these games. Like, do you prefer a horror more dark theme, or do you prefer kind of more ancient Japanese with all these different kind of armors, masks, and kind of creatures that are associated with exactly. So it's really hard to pick between them. But so yeah, another thing I wanted to compare is their healing systems. Now, in Bloodborne, you have blood vials.
Yes.
You can have 20, or if you get items or get runes, you can increase the number if you want.
Ooh.
And you have gourds. Now, I feel like almost the blood vial system, since I played Sekiro first, it makes the game a lot easier. Like, cause like if you like, I have up to 24 vials, so like
man.
I as long as you time your heals properly, you're gonna be fine during most boss fights. Whereas in Sekiro, like you get the gourds gradually. Whereas in Bloodborne, you get 20 vials, and then you can grind to get them again if you lose all of them, if you use all of them or something like that. Whereas in Sekiro, throughout the game, you get more and more gourds, and gourds do the same thing as vials, but you have 20 vials, and you have at most 10 gourds. And that's at the end of the game, you have 10 gourds.
In the whole game?
In the whole game. Now, there are other healing items you can use, but they're not as effective, or there's not very many of them.
Again, it just sounds harder, more punishing.
Again, I think that's what makes Sekiro much better. That's why, like, you feel more skillful, because, like, okay, this boss killed me in 2 hits. Whereas in, like, Bloodborne, like, oh, this boss killed me in, like, 10 hits, but that's because I was mistiming it. Like, my heals. That's why I feel like I got better in Sekiro, because the game's like, no, you have to actually learn how this combat works.
Otherwise, you're not going to progress.
Whereas Bloodborne is like, you can tank a lot of these, so as long as you swing enough times and you have enough strength, you're going to win.
See, I think that's fascinating, because I'm the kind of gamer that I would need more of a Bloodborne. So, like,
Yeah.
I will play Sekiro, because I'm interested.
Yeah.
And I'll battle through it, right? But I was, like, Fallen Order, I went out and I found all the stems. I'm up to like 8 stems. There might be 10 in the game, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I got all of them.
Yeah.
Like, and it's good for me because the bosses kicked my ass almost every single boss. So
okay.
I needed those heals, and I like when I maxed out getting how much force you get back from the stem heals.
Yeah.
I maxed that out, and that like pretty much made the game for me. Like it pretty much saved the game for me, especially during that gauntlet, right? Cause,
yeah.
Whew.
Going back to Bloodborne here. In terms of difficulty, now as I kind of alluded to earlier, it's not as hard as I guess for me personally, because I've seen people who've played Sekiro first going back and saying that Bloodborne's actually harder. I don't find that. I feel Bloodborne is hard in 2 instances.
Right.
One, when they try to swarm you, because obviously the combat's made more for one-on-one.
Right.
So a lot of the time the game is going to throw like 5 characters or 3 characters at you if you're not expecting it. And that's how you can get killed easily. So it's difficult in swarming because you can... there's a thing called spin to win. So like you can do a very heavy attack with the axe.
Okay.
And what it will do is because it takes a little bit of time, but if you time it right, it'll stagger the other guy, so then you can do it a second time and just kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And that works like 70% of the time, or like works like for the first half of the game, not a problem. After that, it takes a little bit more than that, but it's still you can keep them at a distance and they're not going to get you at all. So the game's only difficult then when it comes to swarming you with stuff, because then you have to react. You're getting hit by all these things, and they can kill
What
you.
difficulty are you playing? Just out of curiosity.
There's no difficulty setting in these games.
Oh, it's just
whatever the difficulty is. I think
Sekiro's like that too. There's no.
Oh yeah, exactly. You could make the game harder in Sekiro if you wanted to.
That's what you want.
That's not what I want. Where like even like in the game, like in Sekiro, if you make it harder, even your blocks you'll take damage. You won't take as much damage. Whereas if you didn't do that, the blocks wouldn't hurt you at all. So the difficulties in swarming you in Bloodborne, or the bosses themselves. The bosses can be quite difficult. They're hard to read. A lot of them are massive. So like they have such giant hitboxes.
Right.
So like that's where I find the game is difficult. Whereas I find Sekiro is just difficult in general. Like there are some enemies in Sekiro where I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near this guy because he's just gonna kill me. And it's not even a boss. It's not even a mini boss.
It's just a guy.
It's just a guy. And I feel like Sekiro has like difficulty just all around, whereas Bloodborne, it's specific to those things, which I don't find as good, I guess.
So now that you've played Sekiro 3 times through,
no, 2 times through,
well, almost.
Yeah.
So I know we don't usually do this, but this is a good opportunity. I think. What would you rate it, and what scale? Like out of what would we do video games? We should decide this right now in case we rate games in the future, because we rate movies on the podcast.
I rated Fallen Order.
Did you use it out of 5 scale?
I used it out of 10 scale.
Out of 10 scale. Okay, so what would Sekiro? What are we looking at here?
Okay, so I think I gave Fallen Order like a 7.5, which I still stand by.
Fair, yeah.
I think I might give Sekiro a 9.
Nice.
It used to be an 8.5, but like I've been so enamored by the combat and obviously the replayability. There's so much more you can do because there's 4 endings you can get in Sekiro.
Ooh. Depending on just how you play the game, or depending on key moments, or depending on what?
Well, I'm gonna say like the other like the 2 bonus ones are kind of like you have to do a lot of. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't come across this naturally. I found I looked it up after I beat the game. I'm
right.
Like, how do I get these other endings? So 2 of the endings you can get kind of organically, and the other 2 requires extra steps. That requires you to do a lot of extra stuff that you would not normally have done.
Like side quests, you're talking about?
Kind of like you have to eavesdrop on certain people when they're having certain conversations, and then confront them, and then they tell you about this thing, and then you go do that thing.
That's deep.
That is deep. That's why I had followed lists. I'm like, how do I get to this ending?
So you got all 4 eventually, or?
No, see, I'm on my 3rd playthrough. I've only gotten the first ending and the true ending. I'm not gonna go for the not true ending, but not the normal ending. But I'm gonna go for the bad ending. There's a bad ending that you can get, which I'm
multiple endings.
Which
that's good, man. That's good for replay value.
Yeah, but I think Bloodborne might have 2 endings. Now,
what does your guy look like in Bloodborne?
Actually, I kind of model him after a character in the Stormlight Archive, which is the book series I'm reading.
Nice.
His name is also the same name as that, which is Kaladin.
Great name.
It's a good name.
It's a good name.
So, okay, now that I've been kind of shit talking Bloodborne the entire video, I have to say it is still fun. Bloodborne. I may have said okay, it is a little bit easier than Sekiro. Yes, I feel like a lot of the stuff in Sekiro is better than Bloodborne in terms of how you move into combat. But I still think Bloodborne is worth playing and trying out.
How does it compare to Dark Souls? Just going back in the day.
Like I remember. It's faster. Bloodborne is faster, but then Sekiro is even faster. So that's kind of how you gauge these things. Is these things just keep getting faster and faster.
Awesome.
You're also more mobile in Sekiro, which Sekiro feels like the natural evolution for this series. So it's maybe not fair to compare it to Bloodborne, but then I'm going to compare it to Bloodborne.
Is it fair to say that you're a fan of this game style now?
It might be fair to say this now.
Because you weren't. In the Bloodborne era, I remember you weren't.
No, I tried it.
Like it.
I got to the Bloodstarved Beast, and I was like, I don't want to play this game ever again. But there was a boss in this one. I think his daughter. Her name is weird. It's something Daughter of the Cosmos. She's an optional boss too.
Oh my god!
It took me 2 days, 2 sessions to beat her, and I was so I was on the ground of relief.
Livid.
Oh no, I was livid. Oh, 100% was livid. But when I defeated her, man, I was like. like my heart was like beating on my chest. So like the game has those thrills. Again, like the atmosphere is really good. A lot of the creature designs are great. The bosses are fun and varied. There's actual different bosses, Sekiro. So I do like Bloodborne. Maybe I'd give Bloodborne maybe an 8.5 if I were to rate that one. Thus
Right.
far, I still haven't beaten it. I think
Still
I have
haven't
like
gotten there.
3 bosses, but like
We'll check in. We'll check in.
we'll check in to see if anything changes.
Video games. That was cool.
Yeah.
We also like video games.
Yeah, we like a lot of things. So
We do. We're doing good.
So I guess now we can transition into what are we watching?
Yeah.
Or what are you watching?
Okay, so I am rewatching on Disney Plus. I'm rewatching Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes,
Okay.
which is a animated series. Just pretty much the best take on the Avengers and those characters. I love the art style. I love the storylines. They use all the characters pretty much, and the way that they weave in the story. Basically, what happens at the beginning is that there's a huge breakout of the 4 major Marvel prisons in
Yeah.
the world, and basically all the major villains escape, and basically the Avengers have to come together to bring them all back.
Yeah, you have the first 4 episodes are each character's perspective and whatever villains they're fighting. So you have Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, and Ant-Man.
And Wasp.
And Wasp, yeah. So like, yeah. That show actually is what won me over on Captain America. I used to be a huge Captain America hater. Kind of like how I hated Superman. I'm like, oh, he's just so much in, like, he's like glorification of
Right.
Marvel, and I'm like, he's just, I don't know, he's too much in the forefront. There was something about his character that I felt like he was too nice of a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's not relatable because it's too.
Yeah, it's too pure.
Too unreal. Too pure. Too.
But then watching, but the show really won me over on that.
The writing is phenomenal on
I
the
think
show. All the characters are written almost like the perfect version of those characters. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Where they're all firing. Like, even with Iron Man, like he's arrogant, but he's not a dick, like, per se. His arrogance blinds him to a lot of things. Like, there's an episode I remember where they introduce Simon Williams, Wonder Man, and at the beginning it shows like they're having a meeting with Simon Williams and Tony Stark, and Tony Stark is like, he's so busy trying to like play with like a technology thing he's trying to figure out. He was supposed to be trying to tell him like, yes, I'm buying out your company, but it's because I knew you were gonna close and I'm trying to save it.
Yeah.
But he's so rude, like in the way that he's so focused on this, he doesn't even focus on the conversation, that Simon Williams literally thinks it's a buyout.
Right.
Which leads him to try to become a villain, which leads to Wonder Man. Like, just the way that those things are written, you know, even at the conclusion of that story arc, when they think that like Simon Williams gets destroyed pretty much, like he's guilty, like he's like, I just wanted to save his company. I wasn't trying to buy him out. Things like that.
Yeah.
The Captain America thing you're talking about is like they paint this character where he is patriotic and he does represent like the good, but he's like, it's realistic more about it in some ways.
I think so.
He's so genuine, and then you get to the point where he eventually gets kidnapped by the Skrulls, and you just see he never loses his resolve. You know what I mean? And that's what won me over.
No, that's 100% what won me over too. I 100% agree.
And I just love the way they dip into the lore. You know, for Iron Man, we get to see different suits in the armory. Like the way that they handle Ultron. Like Hank Pym, the way he's written as a pacifist who doesn't want to be part of the Avengers.
Yeah, I really
Janet
like that,
Janet is dynamic and beautiful and smart, but like she's impatient. And, like all the characters, the way Hulk is written, where it's like a constant Jekyll and Hyde between him and Banner, and people trying to use the Hulk, and he thinks everyone thinks he's a monster, even though like it's just written so well.
They get a lot of the villains too. A lot of villains that don't generally get any kind of play are very much utilized.
This shows what taught me about the larger Marvel universe. To be honest with you, in such a like grand scope.
Like Zemo, I like obviously now we know Zemo from Civil War, but like. That was my first introduction to Zemo. Was the
so good when he's like the leader of the Masters of Evil.
Yeah.
So compelling, and actually, it's funny. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're bringing in Daniel Bruhl again to play Zemo, but he's gonna get the stupid purple.
Yeah.
They showed it.
Perfect.
So I'm excited for that.
So obviously, because the show was doing so well, was very highly regarded, they had to get rid of it, right? After 2 seasons.
Marvel has such a bad history of that. Like, let's not even talk about Spectacular Spider-Man, because it's the same thing. Like,
same thing happened, yeah.
Literally, like, the best writing we've ever seen, and then canceled.
Replace with
DC
something.
definitely does way better on the animated
Yeah.
side of things than Marvel. Like DC has great animated movies, but also their animated shows tend to run for like at least 4 seasons. Like
They get to conclude.
things
though.
get endings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and then what happens? What's even worse is that they get replaced with these more generic kind of shows because there was an Avengers shows that replaced it, but it was just so bland looking.
And
then like
not
obviously
written as well.
And I think was Spectacular Spider-Man replaced by the one with like Spider-Man and Friends where he's in school with all the heroes or something?
Yeah, like it was replaced by the Ultimate Spider-Man, the one you don't like, where they bring in like Iron Fist and
Well, I think
White Tiger and
Spider-Man works better as
alone.
as an individual. Yeah, he can have team ups. Team ups are fun, but like having him be like the leader of a group, that did not appeal to me at all. So, it's like, yeah. So, but Avengers first 2 seasons,
so great,
really
Please, oh, it's the best. It's so satisfying.
It's on Disney Plus,
great
right?
rewatch. Yeah, what a great and I've been powering through it, man, because it's so good.
It's
that
so
you
easy to watch.
want to keep watching it and watching it and watching it. I just finished the Kang the Conqueror.
Oh yeah.
Kang is such a cool villain in that. Like if they brought him into the movies in the right way, he could just be. And he would be so deliciously corny too because he's like this purple like spaceman with his chair and his suit.
Yeah.
But he's so sinister. And Doom in that.
Oh, Doom is so good
in that show.
Oh man.
He basically just makes everybody just look like they're nothing to him.
Yeah, exactly.
He disses Iron Man suit like it's just like the oldest piece of garbage.
Oh, I love it because there's one, I can't remember the exact line, but there's like one thing where Iron's like, "Hey, dude, like the world's gonna end. You're gonna help us?" He's like, "That would be beneath me," and he just walks away. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Or like, don't they all attack him? Like him and them and the Fantastic Four attack him, and they had nothing on him.
Again,
they captured Doom so
if they
well.
Get it right. Oh, okay, this is kind of off topic, but I wanted to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
So John Krasinski, you know how he's married to Emily Blunt, right? You know how they're married? The guy from
Sure, yeah.
You know who Emily Blunt is, right?
Yes. Live, Die, Repeat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, because they're married,
yeah,
and because John Krasinski is an action star now, because he's got that Jack Ryan show.
Oh, I thought you would say because he's a director now.
Well, and also that, though.
Yeah.
He's been, even before A Quiet Place, like, he was kind of campaigning to get him and his wife to play Reed Richards and Sue Storm.
Ooh.
Because they're like that level of actors, and because they're both physical, and because they look like them.
Iffy on that part, but still,
Emily Blunt looks like Sue Storm.
Okay, sure. Okay, fine.
And if you put a touch of gray on Krasinski,
that's all he is a touch of gray. Chris Parnell could be Mr. Fantastic. I almost said Captain.
But he's a good actor, right? Like Quiet Place. But also, there's rumors that he's even petitioning to direct it, which I think would be great because if you brought the sensibilities of Quiet Place to Fantastic Four, maybe you could get it right. What do you think of that? Like, do you think that they would make that would be a good casting? Number one, do you want him to direct it? Number two, do you care about Fantastic Four, like what the Marvel does when they bring them in?
Definitely the third option. I do not care about Fantastic Four.
You don't think
I feel like whoever they pick, they're gonna mesh it into their how they like because like what we've seen from these Marvel movies, they're good, but they don't have a distinct style. Or at least not too much. So I feel like even if they added John Krasinski, they're just gonna make him into just another cookie cutter director for one of their films.
That's fair. What about the casting itself?
I do like him, Emily Blunt. I would be interested to see who they get to play the other two characters. So I don't have any.
Bring back Michael Chiklis as the Thing.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to think about who I would cast for those other two. Get back Chris Evans for Human Torch. Why not?
If he would do it,
do it.
I love it. He didn't do bad.
What the character is supposed to be like. Yeah. I also don't mind the guy. Michael Chiklis.
The guy that did the Thing?
Shield guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind him as the Thing.
No, he did a good job.
Like, I don't really hate the cast, maybe other than Jessica Alba. I don't really hate the cast of those Fantastic Four movies, really.
I don't hate them as much as people seem to hate them. I don't think they're as bad as, like, I thought they were pretty alright. The Silver Surfer one, like, even though Galactus sucks at the end, everything with Silver Surfer is amazing.
Yeah, so I could care less if they do another Fantastic Four, but if he does it, I guess I'd be happy or whatever. I don't know.
All right, there you have it, folks.
I think that's going to be it for the podcast. So thanks, guys, for listening.
You can follow Ryan at his YouTube channel, Glass Half Empty, And you can follow me on Instagram at The Brown Nerd. But also follow the podcast at OVP Podcast everywhere, most places. I don't know.
Sure. We have a Facebook.
We have a Facebook.
page.
We have a Twitter. We have stuff.
We have things that you could follow
That
us
was
on.
an awful plug.
But that's how we do it here.
That's just what we got.
First take is the only take. So, thanks for listening, guys, and see you later.